And so, folks, I think we all got it. Let's click got it. Hi, those that are listening to the recording. We're glad you're with us in spirit.
Yes, hi people who watch the recording indeed.
So for those that are joining, hi, it's good to know you. I'm looking forward to spending about an hour with you. And we have some things for you to do. So on my screen, I'm hoping you're seeing it too. If you're not, please let us know that. You're also hearing some background music. We'll pick that as we get started. But as you're settling in, invitation, if you would please, single task, set up to single task. And what I mean by that is if you need to remove a distraction, like shut down email, you need to maybe turn the phone upside down, backwards, I don't know, mute it, do a thing, shut a door. That's what I mean by that. So for 1 hour, could you single task, meaning just focus just on this? It's really hard. I am not good at it. So invitation is to try that on for me. It will really help with number 2, doing a thing for me, grabbing something to draw with. Please grab something to draw with. I hear you. Jelson, I love what you said about that. It is really hard with kids. I get it. You'll hear some virtual housekeeping that honors that here soon. And then the other thing, so grab a thing to draw with. We will use it, not too much today. I've had other Drawifyers say, oh my goodness, I'm not drawing today, it's weird. I'm in that boat too. And number 3, so 1, single task. 2, something to draw with, and something to draw on. Your choice. And then last but not least, learning intent. So what I mean by that is settle in with a learning intent. The learning intent is, what do you want to get out of this? What do you want to get out of this? What is the thing you're here to learn?
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
From Pakistan. Hi, Mateen. Welcome. And Asel, I did not share with you. I know we're at the top of the hour to get started, but Mateen is going to be sketchnoting for us.
Yes, hi, Axel and Erin. How are you?
Hi.
Hey.
I didn't know we had a sketchnoter. That's great.
That's super fun, right?
Yes, it's so fun.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
glad you're
Thank
with
you.
us. Lovely. All right. So Asel, I will let you be our guide. Let us know when we should get started.
Yeah, there are a lot of people coming in for the moment, so I suggest we have 2 more minutes before we start.
Okay. Right. Very good.
If it would be a real door, there would be a little bit of a queue. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll be a bit of a broken record. Hi, Jill, as you're coming in, welcome. Feel free to say hello in the chat if you wish. The big invitation, so we're giving folks that little bit of what I like to call landing packs. We're giving people some time to arrive, check in, buckle up. As you do that, would you please single task, set up to single task. You see that on the screen, hopefully. Single task meaning, and I feel like Jeanette or Nathalie Mateen could probably say this since they've heard it, since they've been our early arrivals. Invitation is to remove any distractions, maybe shut down email, maybe that's turn over a phone, maybe that's grab water, whatever you need to single task, meaning focus just on the one thing for 60 minutes or less that is right here in front of you. For those that are listening, if you're on a run, if you're doing a thing, our invitation is to know that we got a lot of learning to do. So be careful, make sure that you're not overwhelmingly listening and doing too many things. Yeah. 2 is to grab something to draw on and draw with. Again, an invitation, not a have to. You can always use visualization. You can always think with your brain, but the invitation would be to, certainly for those that are here with us, to draw. Something to draw on, something to draw with. And last but not least, number 3, make sure you declare why you're here. Declare why you're here. So that's some sort of learning intent. What is your learning intent? All right, Asel, as people are saying hello, what do you think? Shall we?
Yes, we are going to start. And the first thing I have to do now is multitask because I'm going to give a short introduction, and in the meantime I have to watch the door. And open the door for people who are coming in. So I'm sorry for that. If I interrupt myself a little bit, it's because I'm multitasking, and yeah, so I'm not abiding to Erin. So wait, oh my God, yeah, I'm not good in multitasking. Oh. Okay, so welcome. I see a lot of new faces today, so it's really a pleasure to see that. And because there are a lot of new faces, I suggest that I shortly introduce myself. So I'm Axel. I have been working as a graphic recording for the last 11 years. And a few years ago, 2 years ago, to be precise, I had the opportunity to start something new because of COVID, of course. And I had a dream for a longer time, which was connecting artists together with people who are looking for visual stories, because we all know that visuals work so much better in communication. And I also saw so many thousands of people around the world creating drawings, and I was thinking, why not bring them together in order to empower everyone in the world to create visual stories and to do visual storytelling in a better way. So that's Drawify, and today we have the honor and the pleasure to invite Erin, which is not only a fantastic Drawifier, but she's also a very talented facilitator and trainer. And we are here to inspire you, to teach you maybe something new about visual storytelling, because that's one of my biggest missions, to inspire people to become even a better visual storyteller. So I think that Erin is going to introduce her a little bit more. Thank you, Erin, for being here. By the way, Erin, she thinks in design and she is very human-centered. So for me, that's a perfect person to guide you through design thinking your visual story. So Erin, the floor is yours. Thank you again for being here with us.
Yeah, so thank you. And hello, everyone. Welcome. So Design Think Your Visual Story. If you did not sign up for that, or you are not interested in listening to that, for those that are on the recording, by all means, this is your moment to depart. Otherwise, you are in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. Folks, me, what about me? Other than Acel, thank you for having me as a Drawify. It's been a privilege to be a part of the team. We are going to, everyone, introduce Drawify about top of the hour. What I want you to know is what you're seeing, these slides were actually created in Drawify. So each of these are projects, they are artifacts. So if you're thinking, well, what is Drawify about? Maybe that was your learning intent. Know that you're seeing products in front of you right now that we're from Drawify. So pretty cool tool. We're excited to share it with you. As a Drawifier, I contribute as an illustrator. Not only do I do some Drawifying, but as Axel mentioned, I do a lot of facilitation. So I run a shop, which I dearly love, called Wayfind, and we work in definitely a human-centered design format with our customers to help them find the way visually. So we use visual tools, techniques, methods to help folks build strategies, rethink their work, and get more human with what they do. So that is a lot of what I am up to and about when I'm not drawing for Acel or for you all in this community. And then in addition to that, why human-centered design? Why do I want to talk to you about it? I found human-centered design while working with a predominant client of mine in the past, NASA. So that's the Space Administration. And when I was working with them to figure out how to redesign their talent, right, their workforce, we had a wicked problem with that because their workforce was all over the place. It was not where we could really follow it, right? Like what should that look like? What should their workforce look like? And design thinking was the way we tackled it. So since then, flip slide so you can see that, I've been a part of something called Design for DC. So those that joined from that community, hello, I'm glad you're here. We have really kind of practiced, we've done the design doing part. So that's a big piece of what I want to let you know is that as we talk about this today, it's kind of hard with design thinking to not just do it and learn. That's a real big piece of it. So please know that the practice is a lot about what design thinking is. So invitation before we move on to the next thing. If you would, let us know who you are. So for everybody that's just joining, for those that already introduced yourselves, thank you. I want to know who you are. Who are you people? So please share in the chat. So fingers up for just a moment. In the chat, please introduce yourself, your name, your location, so where you're coming from. And then if you would please, your relationship to visual story in one word. So introduce yourself, name, location, one word to describe your relationship with visual stories. Your relationship with visual stories. Oh, Lisa, cartoonist, fabulous. Who else? San Diego, welcome. Martine, hi. Yes, a Drawify. By the way, we have quite a few Drawifyers from what I'm seeing. Anyone else, please say hello. As you do that, folks, notice we're a pretty global audience, yeah? Pretty global audience. So that will come into play here in a moment. Take a look as people introduce themselves. And let's move. So why are we here? I think all of you know this, but again, just to restate it, our purpose, learn how to leverage a human-centered design approach and tell some compelling visual stories. So that's our why. What on earth are we going to be doing to get at that why? The plan, the beats of our agenda are framing the challenge. We're going to frame the challenge, Toby, and we're going to explore designing for people, right? Talk a little bit about mindset, talk about principles to embody that mindset. And then we are going to move, like I said, hopefully at the top of the hour, to what we're all thinking about, which is what's the process? What's the process around design thinking your story, specifically those that are visual. Yeah, we will try it out with a tool. So Estelle is going to tell us the story. We're going to test out what's called the story to be told template in Drawify. For those that have never experienced it before, you get to see us work in it. Yeah. Awesome. So how are we going to do it? I want you to hear this. So for everyone that is joined today, please pay attention how we're going to work. Virtual hygiene is what I like to call it. So one, please use the chat. You kind of are experiencing that right now. Our invitation, because we're a relatively large group. Estelle, how many are we? How many people do we have?
60, but yeah, there are still people coming in. So 61 now.
Okay, so we're a larger crew. So what that means is to avoid too much of a bombardment. The invitation is to share your ideas and your questions in the chat. And then by all means, no, I will pause and check in with Estelle to see if there are questions that we need to tackle. Yeah. I'll also linger after the session for a little bit. So if there are burning things you would like to know or talk about, we'll be here. I'm happy to take more questions. Also, I'm going to reference some things as we go through the materials today. Please know that there is a long reading list for those that are wanting to nerd out with me. By all means, no, there is a reading list. So if I reference things and you're thinking, hey, I want to learn more about that. Why didn't she talk more about that? No stress. There will be books that I can reference you to, show you where, to dig into those topics. Yeah. All right. Unmute when invited. There may be moments where we don't understand your question. We would love to hear from you. So that's an option. And then those that mentioned, hey, I got kids, Erin, I got things going on. We get it. Host yourself. Please host yourself. You take care of you. Yeah. Estelle, am I missing anything before we move? Anything else coming up?
I would say let's go.
Let's do it. All right, friends, grab that piece of paper. Invitation right up front. So before we frame the challenge, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to see on this slide what's in front of you, that big, fat, hairy question. What story are you trying to win with? So we're here to talk about winning stories, right? Own it. Personalize it. Please, for yourself, think about what story you're trying to win with. Just for yourself, no need to share. What is it? Get it in your head, name it. Visualize it for yourself. Imagine you're saying it. You've told it. The audience got it. It made perfect sense. How'd you do it? Turn inward. Think about that. Maybe you rest your eyes for a moment. I'm going to ask you to not only name the story, but name the feeling. What did it feel like to tell a winning story for yourself? What did it feel like to tell a winning story? So I want you to embody that feeling, literally like feel it for yourself. Maybe even move into the feeling. So like, felt great, like a proud chest. What did it feel like? Feel that in your body. For a moment, absorb that. If you did close your eyes, feel free to open them. I invite you to take that Post-it or maybe that piece of paper, whatever, digital pad if you're up for that. And write it down, please. Specifically, write down the name of the story or the feeling associated with the win. Write that down, draw it, maybe a symbol that represents it. My ask of you, like right up front, I mentioned that we would be talking about pro tips. A big takeaway from this activity is to understand winning stories are cultivated from within, right? Winning stories are cultivated from within. If you can visualize it, if you can dream it, oh so famous Walt Disney says you can do it, right? So the invitation for me and a pro tip when you're working specifically with visualizing stories, all of my Drawifyers can tell you that are in the house, it's not easy. It's a little sticky, it's a little difficult. So feeling into that winning story is super important, right? And your winning story, I see a question in the chat from Lisa. An example of a winning story is one that resonated with your audience. It's exactly the thing we're going to be talking about. So Lisa, thank you for your question. Please know we're going to be working on winning stories throughout the presentation or this conversation. So if it's not clear at the end, can you ask that again? Let's keep moving. So friends, you've got your story, you've got your winning story. The question we would say, and a winning story is, by the way, one that resonates with your audience. Like the flat answer, it's one that said, oh, I get it. It made sense to me, right? So that's the real thing we're going for. Asel, before we move, would you like to share what a winning story was for you? Just like one sentence, because guess what? We're going to be working with her story later. Asel, what would be a winning story for you?
You mean the name or how it feels like?
Both, the name and how it felt.
Um, a winning story. I want to win, but it's not winning yet. Is a story about our community and how it feels. Fulfilling.
Fulfilling, cool.
Yeah.
So Lisa, that's another example. So folks, you've got your story. The so what about thinking about a winning story, and as we frame this challenge is kind of the point that it's kind of hard to do, right? That's why we're here. It's a little sticky. I believe you can tell stories that win just like you can play in strategy to win if you craft it artfully, right? If you craft it well. That's a really big if. So let's move. The challenge we're working with, right? The problem we've got and why we're here to try to design think it is to craft a compelling story. So when you craft a compelling story, what that means is you moved your audience. So one, you moved your audience. Two, you've nudged them to think the thing that you wanted them to think or do the thing you wanted them to do. So like in Excel's example, she shared, I want them to be a part of the community, right? Her winning story would be someone that's investing in the community, that she's explaining Drawify in a way that people invest in it, that they show up, that they're partaking in it, and it feels fulfilling not only for her, but for them, right? And she'll give us more details on that. So hopefully I captured that right. But at the end of the day, it can be really hard to do. It's a really difficult thing to achieve. So as we frame this challenge together, I also want you to think about stories that perhaps failed. So the opposite, right? Think wrong for a minute. What is a story that fell flat? No need to type it out, no need to share. I want you just to kind of think about it so that like when you think about how hard it can be, envision a story that did not work. I have plenty, right? That were no good. Take a look on this slide. There are tons of things that make crafting a compelling story pretty difficult. I'm going to read a few of these for you. And yes, a lot of these images are from Drawify, all of them, in fact. It's really tough to balance the details with the big picture. It's a weak story. It lacks purpose. There's no narrative arc. You can't find an appealing visual. Maybe you get stuck in the data, right? We get stuck in the details. We get stuck in our own story. And a big challenge is figuring out like what is most meaningful to the audience. What do they really care about, right? So this is where we're going to talk about how we solution with design thinking, but getting to this idea of what is meaningful is not easy. It's super, super difficult to do. So I hope that one of these resonates with you. I hear them all the time, right? Of like how hard this is. In fact, I experience it plenty myself. So also I want to say we have some human tendencies, right? The human tendency makes this difficult. We tend to take our own path rather than the one laid out for us, as you can see in this visual. And not only that, just because we can do a thing doesn't technically or necessarily mean that we should do a thing. So why I share this is to realize that we have to understand humans are all going to be adjusting and different, right? So before we move any further, I want to ask you, what does this picture say to you? What does this picture say to you? And please go ahead, put it in the chat. What does this picture say to you? This is the question I'm asking. What does this picture say? Feel free to type it in. Let's see. What does this picture say to us? Pretty big. You should run. Okay. Overwhelm. Yeah. What else does it say to you? People, horror, New Year's resolution, too crowded. Okay. Cardio overload. Oh my goodness. Look at all the interpretations, right? This is kind of to underscore, it's a little tough to get you the meaning, right? The thing you want people to think. Who are these people? Nice, Linda. So good to have you. It's Cindy. Thank you, Tedium. It's hard to get people to think the thing you want them to think, right? Like, what if I wanted everyone to think exercise equipment, like the literal thing it is, right? But look at all these different interpretations. So why I'm bringing this up and what I want you to notice here is we have one thing, one show a jump rope, nice. One thing, the literal thing is the exercise equipment. If I said, what do you see in the picture, right? Or what's the thing in the picture? Maybe it would have worked. What if I added questions to this, right? What if we added text that said before 2018? How would that change your interpretation of the picture? What if I added 2022, ... right? It would change the interpretation of the picture. So the so what here is that there is an pictograph coming up, which is the literal thing, right? And then there is an ideograph, which is the meaning under the thing. We want to visualize the meaning. We want to visualize the so what, or we want to say the so what. And getting to shared imagery is essential to building shared understanding. So getting to shared imagery, right? What everybody's really seeing is so helpful in building shared understanding. So when you think about this idea of imagery, for those that are very familiar with Bolding's work, you're thinking about and realizing that folks are creating meaning if you don't tell them, if you don't help them understand with more narrative, a good story, and or more visuals, right? They're going to build meaning based on the images in their head, right? Like what they say, what they're thinking in their head, and that's based on their exposure, their experience, where they're from, right? Their background. They'll hook whatever they're seeing to that association in their head, right? An ideograph. And so to like land this home a little bit more, because this is a super important thing I want you to be thinking about, that the meaning is important to visualize, is this. So for example, we know a light bulb. I'm sure many of you draw light bulbs or have drawn a light bulb. The pictograph is the light bulb. The ideograph is the meaning. So Asel, what could a light bulb mean to you when we're drawing it visually?
Oh my God, every time the same. An ID, innovation, creativity.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. You have to put text to it, right? At some point, you have to put text to it. So cool. I think we all get the point. I want you to make sure that's a big, big takeaway. Yeah. To think this through. How do we get to the meaning? How do we visualize the meaning? This is where design thinking comes in, but it is a wicked challenge to tackle. So before we jump right into solutioning, a couple more things to share. So one, why this challenge matters. I want you to just know, this is kind of like a personal takeaway, is that stories leave lasting impressions on our hearts and our minds. Not only that, visual stories, like when you take it a step further and you add the visual, it imprints a memory with an image. So we want to compel our audience with visual care, right? We want to be super careful that when we attach a visual, it is resonant, the group has understood it, your audience is clear. And that's where, again, design thinking really helps us figure out what's the meaning underneath all the layers of words that we're interpreting and dealing with. Yeah. So compel with care. That is a huge takeaway here. All right. So let's go a little bit further with some definitions. Let's explore telling story. So, hey, lots of things, digest with me. Follow me with about 2 more slides and then we'll go to design thinking our story. Yeah. So specifically, the first quote, it's from Robert Mckee, call him the father of story. Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world today. It absolutely is. And it has been, thank you, Aristotle, for a very long time. My so what here is that this lovely little like curve that you see. It's an arc, it's a narrative arc, it's a familiar one. Most of us know naturally a good story by the beginning and the middle and the end. It's a structure we're familiar with. These beats, as kind of like what I like to call them, today we're talking about visualizing the beats, the actual story itself. There's also, beyond the structure, the plot and the spectacle. I love that, by the way. Spectacle is the visual for Aristotle. There's also these visual patterns, visual patterns, and visual patterns help us figure out how to support the story visually. We'll go deep into that today. And I just want you to be aware of it. And this is kind of one of those things that I want you to put like a placeholder for yourself and think, I want to learn more about that, right? Dig more into that. Today, we're focused on visualizing the actual story itself rather than supporting the patterns. Those are at the top right. So a lot of that comes from some of the really good work that we've done with like mapping stories, mapping experiences. The other thing that I want you to take away here is this idea from Tufte, good old godfather of information design. He lets us know, and this is the huge thing to think about, good design cannot rescue failed content, right? So your visual, no matter how amazing the drawing is not going to save the day if you don't have a story. Yeah. So you need a story that's worth telling. Okay. So a couple more things. We are here about visuals, right? It's not just the narrative. So I will honor that from Tim Brown. Our ability to tell stories sets us apart, sets humans apart. Mostly we rely on stories to put our ideas into context and give them meaning. So we want to visualize the meaning. That's what I want you to hear. So how do we get there? This is where design thinking really helps us out. I'm going to pause as we move. Any questions that have come up? Do you notice anything? I've not caught anything, but I promised to give a little space.
No, I don't. I can't come up with anything, and I don't see any questions for the moment, unless I missed something. So if you have a question, I would say it's maybe time to speak up. I don't know.
Love it. I'm glad there aren't. So if you have one, throw in the chat. We're going to keep going, but I want to honor that. So I know I'm moving kind of quick. All right. So visuals are a spectacle, right? That's what we've learned. So far, visuals are a spectacle. Think display of the meaning, right? And remember, compelling story was something that moves us, right? So the meaning is what moves us. It nudges us in the direction that we're intended to go if the story is intended to make us do something. Design thinking helps us do that. So let's understand designing for people. Yeah, designing for people. Design thinking helps us to better understand the patterns of our audiences so that we can meet them where they are and journey with them as they go. Yeah. Exploring for people. I wonder what our mindset should be. What should be in between? What should we picture in between these hands, right? What is our mindset? I think you guys have all guessed it by now. Who belongs in the center is our audience, right? Building our stories with our audience at the center of our story. Yeah. That is the mindset I want you to take. And sounds rather sensical, right? Makes sense. Yeah, if I'm going to tell a story, Erin, I get it. Like I want to make sure I know who my audience is. Okay. A little difficult. What type of practices could help us do that? So I'm going to go there. Exploring designing for people means, in principle, to solve their problems. So use their words. This is a graphic recording, a big ticket item, right? We want to use their words. We want to visualize the meaning. So often people say to me, Erin, how do you know what to visualize? And our answer is the key points. Like that's what we say. And that's not true. At the same time, we land in this like iconitis, right? Where we're like visualizing every little thing. The invitation is to visualize the reason to act, not the action, right? You want to support the text, the narration, by giving it the momentum it needs. The meaning is what you're looking for. You're looking for, remember earlier, that feeling that you created, like the fulfilling was what Asel said. You're looking to visualize that emotion, that feeling, and cultivate that. Those are the stories that move us. If you're not already thinking like the Pechakucha, right? You're not already thinking about these like visuals that moved us in our world. That's what was going on. That's what was happening to get to that place. Also, think in systems. So think big picture. So try to keep the system in mind. And yes, I dulled down systems thinking there. So that's an invitation by all means to dig more in to that genre. And then iterate on the design. So what I want you to read here, by the way, learning and looping. So we're going to talk a little bit about de-risking our story, and we'll talk about that after we get into the tool, get into Drawify here in a moment. What I want you to read into this is be a story listener. Be a story listener. Listen for their story, their words, illuminate their words. Don't get stuck in your personal story. Don't get stuck in your personal story or maybe the supporting details. Don't let perfection get in the way. Very easy to do. How many times have you gotten stuck in the drawing? Yeah, this happens. And then definitely realize it takes patience, like co-iteration, co-creation takes a lot of time. And so although Estelle and I are going to demo a really, really quick way to not only get to a visual, but then to rapid prototype, like this is what's awesome about Drawify. It really helps us in this way. We're going to show that. At the same time, we're going to show, we're going to show one discovery tool, right? We're going to go show one discovery tool. There are many. And why there are many? Because it takes iteration. Yeah, it takes iteration. So, Estelle, anything I'm missing before we move on principles?
I'm getting nervous, to be honest, because I know we are going to talk about my story, and you said perfectionism in a way, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, no perfection.
Feeling,
No
perfection. Yeah.
feeling that. No stress. So I just jumped to this big slide. So let me honor that really briefly. And by the way, we are about to jump into Drawify. So what I want you to think of is, so note, we talked mindset, audience at center. Quick review. We talked principles, right? How do you embody that mindset? Let's face it, it seems like common sense, right? What I'm saying is it is a no-brainer, and it's not so much common practice. I know this because I can struggle with this. Design thinking is a codified way to help us make this common practice. Yeah. So what I'm showing on this slide and moving into design thinking your story or solutioning for like all those problems that I talked to you about earlier, it's so difficult. So where design thinking comes in, and I want us to focus on particularly one step today, is it gives us a codified way to get to solutioning for the meaning that you need to visualize, right? It helps us, as I've been thinking about this a lot, kind of helps us do the archaeological dig, right? It helps us dig through the layers to get to the meaning of the story, and particularly empathy, right? Design thinking reminds us we have to get into the shoes of our audience. We do that through step one, empathy, right? Empathizing. So empathizing with our audience is the core step to tackling the challenge we're working on. What it does is it helps us to know what to visualize, to know what's most meaningful, and to help us find the right drawing. Yeah. And we all want to do that. There's no question. At least there is. Unless we're like really trying to kind of like not crack the nut. Not only that, and you'll see this on the template here in a moment, I love the fact that as we work in design thinking, it helps us figure out what to avoid, right? So we don't end up in that failed story. Okay, where you're going to see that in just a moment. You're thinking, well, how does that work? How do we do this? And by the way, the steps I'm showing are from Stanford's D School. So I wanted to acknowledge that this is their process. I actually hail from Darden's design thinking. So I definitely think in different models. So if you have another model of design thinking you use, my invitation to you is to hang with me. We'll talk about that as we loop in, as we back up, and we talk about different models of design thinking, the kind of essence of design. And I'll quote Jean Leica and Tim Ogilvy here. They would say essence of design thinking are empathy or empathizing, right? Invention, iteration. Right? So those are the essences we're working with. So whatever design thinking model you use, empathy is so important. These steps are every explanation I've ever seen in design thinking. So Lisa, I'm glad, kudos. I'm glad I chose a model that resonates. We do use this a lot in design for DC when we're working in community workshops, right? We did use the D School's method quite a bit. So that was just, process and methodology quite a bit. It was very helpful and resonant with folks. So awesome. All right, friends, it's time. We're going to move into Drawify right at the top of the hour. Before we move, I need you to think about a couple things with me. One, you are about to see one of many discovery tools. And when I say discovery tools, this is putting on the mindset that I've invited you to put yourself into. It's embodying these principles and pulling with empathy, thinking with empathy, embodying empathy to start to discover what the meaning is you're looking to visualize, right? Because our goal here is to have a visual story at the end. So that's kind of where we are. That's setting the stage. Please also know that the tool that we're going to demonstrate, it's simply a template. It's a visual organizer. Asel's going to share her story. We're going to work through it together in Drawify. As we do that, your job, so listener, this is what I'm asking you to do. I want you to absorb and generate some insights. So what I mean by that is look at the process we're taking. So focus on the process and absolutely focus on like how it's unfolding, not so much the content, right? We're not going to get stuck in a self story. That's not the idea. Like, it's so exciting that she's willing to share a story with us. So you're in observation mode. Like, it's a pretty sweet role. You get to like come behind the scenes and learn like how this gets done, right? At the end, so when we circle back, we'll circle back to slides. As I do that, I am going to invite you to share your insights, right? What you've learned. So not only that, also know we would love to engage any questions you have about the tool. So as I use Drawify, if you have any questions, we'll be absolutely here to answer it as we wrap up. So Asel, as I shift, pausing my screen for a new share into Drawify, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, not right
No.
now. And same question as before. If there are questions you would like to ask before we start the exercise, it's the perfect moment. Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Yeah, cool. And I thank you. So folks, Asel, let me know. I'll just ask for your voice. Can you see my screen okay? Can you see Drawify? Awesome. So friends, welcome. What I did to get to this screen, and let's hope it's awake. Otherwise, I'll certainly have to do it again. What you know, we are awake, we are live. What I did was I went to drawify.com and I have a profile and I have an account. And as you can see, there are all those slides. They are all projects on the right-hand side of the panel. I created a project. This is a template. It's called The Story to Be Told. And I mentioned Story to Be Told a little bit. I haven't said it is a personal template, and it riffs, it pulls from a key tool. Those that might know it, anybody in the chat want to put it in and guess, but it is job to be done. So I'm a big believer that it is important to realize, like if we buy a thing, it might have a different outcome than the one that we assume it. One good example for job to be done, Asel, before we jump into the template, just to make sure it's clear to folks. A job to be done is often explained by, hey, I bought a hammer. The hammer is to hit the nail to put on the painting onto the wall. Certainly, that is a task of the hammer. And there's a story behind that. There's a story we want to hear, an outcome of the hammer, and that is also to beautify the space. So that is an outcome. And that, when we think about the job of the hammer to beautify the space, that opens up, yeah, awesome. We got some fans of job to be done. Love it. Yeah, Professor Clay, absolutely. So good. Clay Christian does a good job. Christensen does a good job with the milkshake, doesn't he? So the idea is to think about like, what are the open possibilities, right? What are the bigger possibilities? So for those that know job to be done, I think you'll be excited to see kind of like a personal twist on story to be told. Right? So how we apply design thinking to pull it through. Okay, Asel, it is your turn. If you would, what is your, we're going to start, by the way, folks, from left to right, or excuse me, yeah, left to right, and then kind of work our way down. What is the story to be told?
Well, so to be honest, I didn't prepare myself too much because I wanted to be natural and not too prepared. So the story I want to tell or to be told is about, indeed, it's about Drawify. Yeah, why not? Everything I do nowadays is about Drawify. And it's about the community. So you see the tool, you see the platform, and you see the sessions you're following. But in my heart, there's another story behind it, and it's about that someone said in the April, said the positive change as a collective. So it's a whole collective of people creating art and visual stories behind Drawify, and the fact that on the other hand, you have a whole world of people trying to convey a message. So the story I want to tell is about the bridge that is between those people. So the bridge between people who want to tell a story and people who have all those artifacts in hands where you could tell a story with. So that's, and it's really bad, it's really bad how I tell it now, but that's probably part of the process. So yeah, so that's a story to be told. Yeah, that's the what, let's say.
That's a bit of the what. When
Yeah.
you think about that assault, like let me ask you for permission. May I push a little bit here and dig into maybe the so what? May we do that together? Might feel a little like a little bit of friction. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you for working with me in that. What is the so what? I mean, I get it, like it's Drawify, it's a tool, community. Like so what?
So what I think that the world needs it. So I think, yeah, the world needs something like this.
So what?
So what? So what? Imagine the change we can bring, or yeah, the change in communication we can bring if we bring all those people together who want to do something differently in their communication, in visual communication.
Nice. So, and you have hearing process, not content. Let's dig into that. What, as you look at the what and the so what, say we offered it 5 times, right?
Yeah.
So it's 4 through 5 ways. Say we kept going, digging into the so what. We might dig into some more meaning. Good thing. This is what we're empathizing with and looking for. Okay. Off of process. Let's move into where Drawify comes in. What, as you look at those words, what images come to mind? What words might we search to start to kind of conjure an image that resonates with like what the story is, just at surface level?
Yeah.
What might we look?
Yeah, bridge maybe? I don't know.
Bridge. That made good sense to me. Let's check for bridge. Does one image resonate? Look at all of these.
Yeah, the rainbow. I love the
Okay.
rainbow. Yeah.
My good, amazing Drawifier, can you please pronounce her name? Want to recognize her
Oh,
work?
yes, Propanarai from Thailand. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can you can name her Pro. That's easier.
Thank you, my dear teammate, for your fabulous contribution. All right, we got a bridge and it's a rainbow. So what else?
um, community maybe. I don't know what you see when you get community.
Who knows? We get to show more tools if we don't have a drawing, right? So it's great. Which there's Ben. What image resonates?
Yeah, take one of Ben. You have the one of Ben, so the black and white with all those people giving things through the computer.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So for purposes of, we're going to keep going. So we may have dug more into that, yeah. But let's keep going. So the story behind the story. Let me make sure I explain that well. There's always a story behind the story, a la the context, the background, the setting the stage. What is the story behind Drawify?
So you mean more facts, more
Sure.
details? Yeah. So
What?
can you give one example just to be sure that I answer correctly?
Absolutely. What I'm thinking about, since I know intimately Drawify, one of the things I definitely knew is that it's your users are your audience are professionals. It's
Yeah,
global.
that kind of things. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, indeed, the visual storytellers are professional artists that are working for business. So most of the people are working in the business context and are making strategic drawings. So that's something that you should know or could know.
How did
Another
Drawify
story is
come about?
that the users are mostly also professionals working in business or in a B2B context, education. So not people who are creating, I don't know, cards, wish cards or whatever.
So, and if we dug into this more, what we'd be looking for is also like, how did you land on Drawify? Like, how did you land on the idea? Like, what's your story in this story? How did Drawify show up into the world?
Yeah,
How'd
so
you think?
like I told in the beginning, it was really because so many people were asking for more visual material that they just could use in their own visual stories. They were asking that for a longer time, and because of the time I got because of COVID, or thanks to COVID, maybe I should say, I started talking with other, visual artists, and we came together. We crafted this idea. So I talked with a lot of Drawifyers, what we call them today, about the idea, and they refined a little bit. They asked questions, and that made that I came up with the idea Drawify.
Pedram, I want you to hang tight rather than typing that in. Hang tight. Yeah, we're totally not there. We got quite a bit to go on the figuring out like the meaning of a cell story, right? We got a bit to go. We got some blocks to find out. So hang tight with us. So Estelle, if we started to just visualize the meaning, the context behind the story, what visual might resonate with you? What might we look up?
Something with drawings, maybe. Or maybe presenters, because a lot of people who use the drawings are making presentations. So maybe someone who is presenting something. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one, the gray one there with his computer. Yeah, from Jesper. Jesper from
Jasper. Beautiful. Okay. So, and Estelle, just to kind of demo the tool a little bit, what happens if we don't find a visual? What happens if we don't find like the word we're looking for? Then what?
You can do two things. Or you look for another word. So that's the most easy solution. Maybe there's another word that resonates, and that also could lead to an example like artist or drawing or whatever. But if you really don't find anything, then you could do this. Then you see this, and you can ask an image. So then I get it in my mailbox and I send it to the Drawifyers, and they start creating a drawing. So
demoing the tool a little bit. So folks, what Estelle is saying is that there is a team of 18 plus, I don't know how many of us, working 24 hours around the clock all over the world. You can keep us, and we are going to visualize with you. So it's a pretty cool thing. So if you don't find something in the library, one, we're working on it. And two, you get your request answered. So I just wanted to highlight that, right, as kind of a bonus. When you think about Drawify, we're literally doing design thinking on the back end, right, building with you in our community. So something important just to highlight about the tool itself. I'm going to move just to we kind of pull it through. Let's move to, so, and by the way, folks, this type of activity, this is like a 90-minute, right? This is a conversation, right? You're empathizing with, in this case, I'm empathizing with the storyteller. I'd want to go next to Estelle's like audience, right? I want to be using the same type of tool to learn from her audience, right? And then we start to pull out what meaning we're going to visualize. So this is just one of many tools. Okay, let's go into what should listeners ... Estelle, what should they think? What should they?
They should think, I want to be part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to be part of that community. That's what they should think.
What should they experience or feel? Let's move a little fast.
Maybe kind of FOMO feeling, fear of missing out. Oh, I have to be there, otherwise I miss something. I have to become a Drawify, otherwise, I can't be as impactful in the world, something like that.
Okay, and anything else they should feel or experience, or maybe be motivated?
Passion, maybe, yeah, just also passion, that they experience passion and sharing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about do? Anything they should do?
Find out more, contact me, sign up, register to become a Drawify, for instance. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, and what must we, kind of key question, remember we talked about this, folks, in our conversation earlier, right, when you were listening, about what you don't want to evoke, right? What do you want to avoid? So Estelle, what must we avoid?
Well, that's a good question, because that's something I ran into when I try to tell this story, is I don't want to become a sales pitch, for instance. It's not it tends to become a sales pitch, and that's not what you want. You want to convey a message, show your passion, inspire people. You don't want a sales pitch. So
a sales pitch. Anything else we want to avoid with this story? Like you said, key question. What else do we want to avoid? And then let's go see if we see any imagery that resonates.
What I also want to avoid is to position this platform, this community as a threat. Like technology is always a threat, very often a threat. And I really want to avoid that people see this community as something that could hurt them. in any way, or the tech could be an obstacle, or yeah, something that could replace them or something. So that's something I would like to avoid also.
Okay, so let the tech not be a threat. And I'm hearing you say, so I'm adding words, so I want to call that out, that the threat be a tech. And it sounds like to like the role, the craft, the practice. So I think you realize this is a very human practice. And so the tech shouldn't ever be a threat to that.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what visuals might resonate? And by the way, we could have done this in reverse, right? And maybe we'll do that with the circle in the middle of the winning story. We'll hunt for a visual first. When you think about experience, the doing and the thinking, what might we look up?
An enthusiastic person, or yeah, people who are passionate or a lot of energy, motivation.
There are lots of people. We got lots of people.
Or maybe yeah, connection, something like that.
Let's look for something more specific. Connect.
Yeah.
Kind of resonates with bridge. Anything that comes up for you? Do you see one?
Yeah, maybe the blue and the one of myself.
One of yours. All right. So yes, you are also drawing constantly too. Thank you for that. So we would build, we would do more, right, with this. And what must wait? Is there anything that resonates with you there?
Yeah.
So say if we
pitch or sales or something like that.
pitch your sales, let's see if there's any imagery. Okay, there's a couple. There's pitch.
The green one, yeah.
So one thing about this is I'm seeing that we could also potentially like build the story, right? This is a building block. This is an element. So what we could do is add an X, right? Like we could cross it out. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Because you're not wanting it to be a sales pitch. And I'm thinking one thing I really love about Drawify is that we can also like change colors really quickly, our branding. So that's really helpful to have like the hexadecimals. Love that. Beautiful. So let's get to as a quick hit, the winning story. If we visualized it, so take a moment, take an inventory as we kind of wrap up this tool, take a moment to look at it. What visuals or what would we look up that might be capturing what your underlying meaning about Drawify, what you want to say to the world is?
Are you asking that question to me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm thinking of something like a world opening up. So something that opens up and that unleashes a lot of potential. I don't know how that would look like, but anyway.
Let's see, right? I mean, I'm visualizing it myself. Let's see if there's naturally some that we have that might help us. Take a look, see if you see one or a world at least. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
But starts to get at least at the holding, maybe this opening up image. So I heard you say open. I wonder if we look up open, what we get. Oh, interesting. So, and this is, there's some fun opens. You got a box.
Yeah, or maybe the key. Maybe it's a key to open up. Yeah, that's also something we can do.
Oh, the key to opening. I love that. So notice, and again, this is kind of the getting the idea. I want folks to be able to get an idea of like how quickly we can build something. Just instantly starting to peel back what the visual might be. We learned from our conversation, we need to add some words to make sure that this is understood. So if you took the world with the hands kind of throwing it up or like catching it, maybe, right? Could be which interpretation, and this key, what words would we add that help you say what you mean by those pictures?
Yeah, I think opening up would certainly be a word.
Are you unlocking?
Yeah, unlocking. Yeah, unlocking. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's the language of the audience, but that's maybe maybe I don't have to think about it. It's about the process, not the content, what you say. So
Yeah. Opening up the language of the audience. Is it their visual language? Is it their visual communication? And I'm kind of I'm looking with you at what the earlier story was. It's imagine the change. I think it was in visual communications.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Unlocking the potential of visual communication
Hmm,
together. That's maybe the story. Yeah.
unlocking the potential of visual, woohoo, of visual comms. So I'm going to shorten it for purposes of exercise. So, folks, what we just went through, and then we'll shift over as we get close to wrapping up together. You got a demo of not only Drawify, right, and how it works in a very raw way, right? You saw me actively typing and working with a cell in the tool. What's interesting about Story to be Told, it's a first pass. So for those that said, I'm struggling with where are we going, Erin, where are we going? Like I didn't quite see it. Remember, this is discovery, right? We're empathizing. We're not there yet. We use this as a first canvas, right? It's one project to start to help us understand. And notice in less than what, so we've been doing this for maybe less than 10 minutes. We went from it's about Drawify to unlocking the potential of visual communications. That's a pretty big jump. So imagine if you're working with any of your audience, it's a pretty interesting way to start to pull through the underlying meaning. And bonus, we even have some drawings to get us started, right? We're not guessing, and we built it together. So there's no like bring a rock, right? Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And getting into a doom loop, we've co-created. Yeah. So, folks, as I shift over back to our presentation to wrap up, I would love if you would. Oh, and thanks. Let's see. I don't know who this is from. And I love how quickly you can put an image to words. Yep, for sure. Neat to prototype. Yep, definitely. Thank you for that. I want you to please share with Asel and I, if you would, what we asked you, right? You've been observing, you've been watching this show. Share one key learning, takeaway, or appreciation with us. Maybe not as you depart, but don't leave just yet. We're not quite done.
No.
Share learning, takeaway, or appreciation, and we will wrap up and take any questions. I want to know, what did you learn from this? What did you learn from this? Could you let us know in the chat as I shift over back to the presentation? What did you learn from this? Ooh, takes a minute to take. I know. It's a big ask. It's a big ask.
Mhm.
What did you learn from this? Yep, it's a project, as I promised. Story listening. Yeah, learn about the drawing. Love to point about visualizing the action, but the outcome. Yeah, the feeling. Thanks, Shelley. How Drawify works. This is good, and there is a community behind this. Asel, what else do you see?
Well, I'm reading. Yeah, it's about giving the power to everyone to draw also. That's nice. Using visuals in design thinking, adjusting words with pictures and vice versa. Yeah, it's important to define the audience. I think that's indeed really important because I was not thinking about that. So thank you, Martin.
Oh, good. Structure of DT. I'm assuming DT is design thinking. That's helpful. Jill, I like witnessing the process, yeah, and applying the learning to the canvas. Cool. Very good. System application. This is helpful. So folks, feel free to keep adding. I want to honor your time. Our goal here is to think about, design thinking your visual story, right? And if there was one thing I wanted you to absolutely, Shelley, thank you. Just yes. What I want you to think about is it's about empathizing, it's about iteration, it's about invention, right? And it takes time. That's so important. This was the canvas we used. So where would I go from here? I get that question a lot when I've shared this visual before, when I've shared this, and I get people asking me, okay, Erin, do you really use this? Yes, I do. I use it a lot. It really helps me on the fly if I've only got 30 minutes to get about where I need to get. Very helpful. I might go from here. I might go to another template. I might go to, remember those story patterns? I might go to something like this, where I'm starting to figure out, okay, what's the layout, right? And this is, yeah, so Natalie started to say it, like the process, the flow is how I could prepare storytelling. This is the next one, right? What's the narrative and how is the arc? Pro tip, I said I would give lots of pro tips, and I've given a few. This is a key one, that try to do it and then do it wrong. So for example, if it's really clear that the climax needs to come out halfway, that's obvious when they tell their story, break that. Try to put it at the front or try to put it at the end and see how it shifts the story. Often we'll go, okay, that's what it is. iterate, try something new. So that's just a pro tip I like to offer when we think about journeys. For those that are seeing journey mapping in this, you can absolutely do that. You can think about the positives, the negatives, the highs and the lows as you start to map out the elements, or what I called earlier, the beats of your story. So there are more tools. These are some of my greatest hits. And I think I mentioned to a few of you that that are still with us, this idea that there are more discovery tools. And if you've used different design thinking kind of methods, right? These little 5 blocks don't resonate with you, these fabulous shapes. I get that. Think about the first half, the first diamond being telling the right story, right? What's the right story? What's that compelling story? What's that winning story? What is it, right? Dig through the layers, use discovery tools like the ones I have written down here. To then second half, second part of the diamond, second diamond, tell the story right. Right, what I mean by that, it means implementation involves a trifecta of design choices, delivery channels, decisions, surrounding interaction and engagement. So this is where you ask yourself, hey, what channels do I use? Right? What media do I use? This is where we get into animation, we get into packaging, visual comms, right? Strategy of how we reach our audience well, not only with the right story, but how we go about it, how we tell it. And last but not least, just I ask of you is tell it with confidence. So this goes back to the way beginning, as you like see all the things we've reviewed, like mindset, principles, your toolkit, what it takes to win. These are some takeaways for you. Please know that the idea here is come back to what your story is, build it with confidence. And when you do that, go ahead and tell it with confidence too, right? Tell it with confidence too. So in Drawify, yes, it is drawn for you. It's visuals on the fly. You have a specialized team. And what I'm so appreciative of with being a part of Drawify is this idea that we are really building the platform with you. We have applied as a team design thinking in so many ways to try and understand what you need, take your feedback. I can't even tell this team how many times, or a group of people, how many times you've come to us and said, yep, I went to coaching or office hours and all I heard was feedback on the tool. And then we're immediately seeing changes. So it's really neat to be a part of that with you. So thanks for that. And last but not least, as promised, there's lots. There's lots of good reading. So at the top of the hour, it was lovely. Estelle, would you like to close us out? And I will be happy to link. It was lovely to talk to you about 2 of my favorite things, design thinking and visual storytelling.
Thank you, Erin, for this amazing presentation. And I'm doing next week a workshop with a client about his story, and I'm going to use the canvas because it was new for me too. So thank you, Erin. I'm going to apply it. Probably not as well as you because you were so, used to work with it. I heard it. By the way, on your list, list of literature, the first one was Dan Rome. And that's maybe the bridge. So first of all, Erin, thank you. And that's the first thing. Normally we have 1 session a month, a session like this. This month it's a bit special because I was able to catch Dan Rome as a speaker. He's willing to come to the Drawify session and talk about visual storytelling also, like Erin, but from a different angle. And he will do that next week on Friday. I know it's really short, and it's short after this one. But so if you enjoy storytelling and if you like Dan Rome, who is one of the, I think, most famous people about visual storytelling, make sure that you don't miss the next session. Will be next week on Friday. And then you will also receive a mail with a recording in case you want to watch again. I think Erin will also send the material that you can take a look at it again. And you will also get a feedback form. So please share also your feedback so we can improve our sessions even in the future. So thanks again for being here. I wish you good luck with all the visual storytelling. I hope you enjoyed. And for those who have more questions, I'm happy to stay here a little bit and maybe answer your questions. Erin, I don't know if you have a few more minutes to stay. Okay. So I want to be respectful for the time for everyone who wants to leave. But if you want to ask questions, please stay and we will answer them. So thanks again. Have a nice evening or afternoon or whatever you are and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Let's see, Linda, is Linda still there? Linda, this is coming, and I tried to copy paste